Long ago, the beings known as the Celestials ruled the galaxy. They were the most powerful force sensitives that the universe had ever seen, and nothing like them has ever been seen since. Their amazing intelligence caused them to craft wonders of machinery that still exists in the galaxy to this very day. But before the Celestials vanished into obscurity, leaving the galaxy behind, they would establish something known as the Great Hyperspace Barrier. The barrier was a dense cloud of space storms and a nebula which encased the galaxy, keeping all of its residents inside and any extragalactic threats outside. But this barrier also bisected the galaxy, leaving only 2/3 of the known galaxy explorable. The rest was called the unknown regions. Many have speculated why the Celestials decided to create this barrier, with the most brilliant of minds theorizing that it was to keep the Rakatan Empire at bay during the period. But in reality, this was not true. There was a single entity that Celestials were attempting to contain here, a whispering aberration of the unknown regions, a being of evil that eclipses even that of the Sith. Mnggal-Mnggal. Our season of horror is reaching its conclusion, and we believe that it's time to bring its climax with what is possibly the most terrifying entity in the galaxy. Students of the Force, welcome back to our archives, and now let us open the holocron. In the unknown regions, there is a dead part of space, a place that every native to this part of the galaxy knows to avoid. The Chiss Ascendancy has the most cohesive collection of knowledge about this hideous enemy, and even the Chiss, with all of their military brilliance and firepower, refuse to go anywhere close to it. The name of this planet is Mnggal-Mnggal. It is a gray, a dead world, surrounded by a ring of empty starships from all eras from across the galaxy. What lies on that world has caused the fall of empires and entire civilizations. On the planet of Mnggal-Mnggal, nothing living grows. The continents are rotted. Trees are in a permanent state of petrification. It is a maddeningly silent place. And that is because this is the origin world, or perhaps the arrival world, of the being Mnggal-Mnggal. Mnggal-Mnggal is covered from pole to pole in oceans of opaque gray liquid substances that smells of sweet rot. The roots of this gloopy ooze penetrate even to the very core of the world. This is the very body of Mnggal-Mnggal, a creature that is not only a species, but a single entity of one self-aware intelligence. The entity is capable of thought, long-term memory, and even speech. As a fluid being, Mnggal-Mnggal is capable of endless shapeshifting. It interacts by creating questing pseudopods, fanged mouths, and eyes on stalks. It can also break off pieces of its mass, creating crawling worms and flapping bat-like creatures. When these constructs have served their purpose, they are reabsorbed into the totality of Mnggal-Mnggal. Some have spent time among the petrified forest of Mnggal-Mnggal. They claim that they can converse with Mnggal-Mnggal, and that they have filled journals with recollections of its dreamlike observations. Mnggal-Mnggal speaks in verse, metaphor, and riddles, often using ancient languages or adopting forgotten conventions of speech. Some say that it is a deceiver, and that every word that it utters is either a lie or flattery. Mnggal-Mnggal is an ancient being that weaves tales of the Celestials, the Rakata, and the dawn of the Jedi, as well as the current plots of conquerors, locations of lost wonders, and answers to mysteries, questions that the Jedi and Sith even forgot they had in the first place, lore beyond even them. But of course, the truth of any of this information is unclear. Mnggal-Mnggal relishes in deceiving the gullible, stringing along the hopeful with truths that will remain forever just out of their reach. That is because Mnggal-Mnggal thrives off of one thing, feeds off of it really, and that is the suffering of sentient life. Mnggal-Mnggal is known to infect others. Beings that encounter a calm pool of gray liquid may be shocked as the substance abruptly explodes, dozens of droplets coating their faces, sliding towards their mouth and their nostrils. After Mnggal-Mnggal essence penetrates the cranium, it moves into the internal tissues of the body, consuming things like blood and muscle as it increases its mass. It feasts on its victims, filling them with the totality of itself. Be assured, this process is not a fast one though, but slowly and excruciatingly painful. Within 24 hours, this results in a hollowed out vessel filled entirely with a viscous pus. But the fate is for those who get off easy. This ambush method of transfer is not the only manner in which Mnggal-Mnggal spreads and infects. Small quantities of the gray slime, no larger than a bean for instance, can be accidentally swallowed, after which this seed begins to grow and the hollowing process continues. This typically, though, takes around a week. After the insidious process reaches completion though, Mnggal-Mnggal fills every square centimeter of the victim's torso, limbs, and head, and it can animate them with sufficient precision to pilot an airspeeder, type on a datapad, or even carry on a conversation. Since such victims no longer possess lungs or vocal cords though, as Mnggal-Mnggal projects its own voice from inside of their throats. But the speech of Mnggal-Mnggal is flat and possesses a buzzy distortion. The victim of course is dead, but the intelligence of Mnggal-Mnggal is in control and can use the body however it now desires. Because all are animated by the same mind, multiple zombies can essentially communicate telepathically as they work together to spew infectious fluid into the faces of new victims. Luckily though, there are ways of telling if a person is infected and a hollowed out zombie. They may look normal at first, but when you look close, you recognize the vacant stares, and how they move is rather stiff, almost choreographed, unnatural. They have flat, buzzy speech, but also the infected may speak without moving their mouths, and when they sleep, there is no rising or falling of their chests, since of course, they are not actually breathing. But most notable of all, bodies kept animated in this state are still corpses, and now begin the process of decay. After a week, they will begin to rot, with the grayish essence of Mnggal-Mnggal leaking from the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears. It isn't understood what drives Mnggal-Mnggal to do the things that it does. It does not require sustenance, it does not need to eat, it does not need to reproduce or sleep, and therefore it has no drive for survival. It is malevolence incarnate, and wishes only to spread itself around the galaxy. The entity is sadistic, it thrives off of suffering, and the wretched spectacle of a mother confronted with the reanimated corpse of their child is a process that has been repeated from planet to planet, as Mnggal-Mnggal pushes the emotional buttons of other beings, driving them to insanity through loss. It whispers to them, tells them to open airlocks, to deactivate perimeter fences. Its only desire is control, and the entity has staked claim to thousands of worlds. Trillions of beings have fallen to Mnggal-Mnggal. The creature treats every living being as its own personal plaything, believing that it owns them. But where does a creature of such evil come from? Some speculate that it was born of the dark side of the Force, but we don't believe this is true. We believe that the Celestials were the architect of Mnggal-Mnggal, making it their single greatest failure. The creation of a being like Mnggal-Mnggal isn't just a mistake, it is a pure sin. There is a real chance that Mnggal-Mnggal is an extra-dimensional being in origin. Its physiology has resembled reports of another extra-dimensional being named that of Waru, and many believe that Waru and Mnggal-Mnggal are the same. Waru was a large sentient cube made of goldish bronze interlocking plates. These plates oozed some sort of slime. It has come from a place simply referred to as the Otherworld, which is described as a mirror dimension, which is the complete inverse of the known galaxy. Waru could consume Force energy and then use the Force to heal others. Luke Skywalker described his power as being the Anti-Force, a literal inversion of the Force from the known galaxy. Unlike the Force, which was life, the Anti-Force was pure death, the consumption of life. It was then revealed that this alternate dimension had been conquered, wiped out by those who viewed life as an abomination. And so the galaxy was left completely dead, in a pure, nihilistic state of nothingness. Currently, there is nothing to dissuade us from believing that Mnggal-Mnggal could have landed in the known galaxy millions of years ago the same way that this Waru did. This means that its power is not dark side in nature, but it is worse. It is the anti-force. It is completely against even the dark side. It may be locked away in the unknown regions for now, but the creature has extended its presence to thousands of worlds, moons, and space stations from across the galaxy. Since its puppets last only a short period of time before they decay, the most reliable signs of infestation are gray pools in caverns and sewer systems. Given enough time, the worlds become an overrun mess, as lifeless as Mnggal within a few generations. Extended outbreaks are responsible for the decimation of the Empire of the Vis, and other game-changing political shifts in the unknown regions. All the ships that we mentioned earlier, which encircle the world of Mnggal like a ring, are ships from all eras which were brought back by Mnggal zombies, in order to keep them in the atmosphere of the home planet like trophies. There are even pleasure barges there belonging to Zim and Despot, one of the most important figures in the history of the galaxy. The thing about Mnggal is it's basically impossible to stop. Killing infected zombies usually only releases the ooze into its raw form, and the slime itself is completely unaffected by cutting away at it. Blaster fire and lightsabers merely do minor damage, and only serve to hinder the creature. Given the chance, Mnggal-Mnggal has the capability of overrunning the entire galaxy, creating a fossilized wasteland. But luckily for us, the creature is not invincible. Killing a pool of Mnggal-Mnggal is best accomplished by a wide spray of application of fire, acid, poison, and noxious chemicals. All the cultures of the unknown regions are able to keep the creature at bay with these reliable methods, but no one has figured out if it's possible to completely eradicate the entity and to kill it entirely. Despite this, the Chiss pay extremely high bounties for anyone willing to take out pools of Mnggal-Mnggal, targeting the creature directly. Some have theorized that the logical move would be to strike at Mnggal-Mnggal on Mnggal itself, attack the planet directly, cleansing the planet of origin to see what would happen next. The ships in orbit above the world include a few that are bursting from volatile arsenals stored next to leaking antimatter engines. Such a vessel as this, if nudged out of orbit into a collision with the planet below, would trigger a chain reaction that could destroy the entire world and a massive part of Mnggal-Mnggal. Unfortunately though, this is only just a theory. No one has ever been brave enough to venture that close to this forbidden world. It is simply too dangerous. But this is the full and complete horror of Mnggal-Mnggal, the one creature deserving of the Death Star's cleansing power. So my friends, would you have a conversation with this creature? Would you listen to its strange forbidden secrets? Or would you immediately take a flamethrower to the sludge? As always my friends, thank you so much for visiting the channel today, and of course, may the Force be with you.